4.4. Odds. People use odds every day. However, if you don't fully understand them, you can make bad decisions. See, there are two different kinds of odds. Odds in favor and odds against. And if you don't quite understand what the order is, you can misinterpret what the favorable outcome is. So let's fill in this blank here. So the likelihood. The likelihood of an event occurring is not always expressed as a probability. It can also be expressed as odds in favor or odds against the event occurring. Odds are always expressed as a ratio. So odds in favor, the way that we write that down, are going to be favorable outcomes so the number of favorable outcomes to the number of unfavorable outcomes. And our odds against are going to be unfavorable outcomes to favorable outcomes. Okay, so let's launch right into a question. And this is the first example is something that we're pretty comfortable with so far. So, what are the odds in favor? So the odds in favor of rolling a 5 on a die. So let's just quickly draw out all the different faces on a die. So the odds in favor of rolling a 5 on a die are going to be one favorable outcome. Okay, so this is the favorable outcome. So one favorable outcome, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 unfavorable outcomes. So this is going to be our favorable outcome to unfavorable. So this is how we would express odds in favor. Now, odds in favor and probability are related. So pay attention to how we figure out these. How we can figure out what the probability is. From past experience, we know the probability of rolling a 5 is going to be 1 out of 6 total options. Well, look at this, folks. 1 plus 5 is going to be our 6. That's the relation here. So when we're talking about odds in favor, the 1 is the same thing as this one. And then when you add the unfavorable outcomes and the favorable outcomes together, you have your total number of outcomes. Another way of thinking about odds here is when we're talking about this specific rolling of a die, we're saying that we're going to roll a 5 once for every roll of a non-5, 5 times. So 1, 5, 2, 5 non-5s. That's a lot of 5s. But I hope you understand what I'm talking about. I'll kind of say the same thing for the next one. So example number 2, what are the odds against drawing a face card from a standard deck of cards? Now, I think that a lot of people have different definitions, and I'm sure that in certain situations they're all valid, but just for the sake of this, I'm going to say a face card is going to be Jack, Queen, King. Some people say Ace with it too, and I'm sure that there are certain circumstances that that's true, but let's just assume Jack, Queen, and King for the face card. So what are the odds against drawing a face card from a standard deck of cards? And then B part, what are the odds in favor? Okay, well, first things first, let's calculate how many face cards. So we have Jack, King, and Queen, and we have 4 suits. We have hearts, we have diamonds, Oh, that's a triangle, not a diamond. We have an upside down heart, which is going to be our spades, and then we have our clubs. So we're going to have 3 cards per suit. So the way that the total face cards is going to be 3 times 4, which is 12. So if we're talking about the odds against, we're talking about the unfavorable to the favorable. So we know the number of favorable outcomes. It's going to be 12. A standard deck of cards has 52. So to find out the number of unfavorable, so I'm going to say rest of deck, it's going to be 52 minus 12, which is going to be 40. So we're going to say 40 to 12. Now ratios work exactly like fractions. We can have them down into lowest terms, so let's do that. So divide by 2. So we're saying that's okay, it's 20 to 6. Oh, they're both even. I can divide by 2 again. So 10 to 3. Cool. So what are the odds in favor of drawing a face? What are the odds in favor? So we first did odds against. Now we're going to do odds in favor. So that means that we're going fav to unfav. So we know the favorable number of outcomes is still going to be 12. And the unfavorable is just going to be 40. And we can find it in lowest terms just the same way. So it's going to be 3 to 10. So odds against and odds in favor, they're the exact same numbers, just in the opposite order. So let's talk about the probability of drawing a face card from a deck of cards. This is kind of cool. So if I'm going to say probability of face card, I'm going to say that there are 12 face cards out of an entire deck of 52. I'm going to divide by 2 just to get into lowest terms here. So I'm going to get 6 over 26. Oh wait, they're both still even, so I can go 3 to 13. Look at how cool this is, guys. 3 plus 10 is our 13, and our favorable the number of favorable outcomes, 3, is the same thing as our numerator. So with this, let's just talk about the difference here. So what the odds are saying for every 3 face cards, there are 10 non-face cards. So for every 3 face cards, there are 10 non-face cards. Or if we want to say for every 12 face cards, there are 40 non-face cards. It's just a multiple. Whereas the probability says 3 out of 13 cards are face cards. Or if we want to go right to the source, 12 cards out of 52 are face cards.